This video goes over exactly how I was able to pay off $58,000 of my student loans at the age of 22 years old. So I am so excited about this video. I worked so hard to be able to say this video, and just like the relief that I feel on paying off all my debt is insane. So I'm hoping that I can give some tips and tricks and just show you how I was able to pay off all of that debt at 22 years old, and hopefully it can help you in your own situation. So a little bit about me and my debt-free story. I grew up in a very nice neighborhood. It was more of like a higher class area, and I just assumed, and this is so like naive of me, and I just really didn't know anything about money when I was graduating high school, and I just assumed that my parents were going to be paying for my college. They didn't say anything to me differently. I knew that my friends were getting their college paid for, or at least like majority of their college paid for. So I kind of just assumed that I was in the same situation. And then a week before I went to college, like I was fully in, like literally was moving in the next week, my parents were like, yeah, we have no money to give to you to pay for college, like you're fully on your own. So I paid for every single cent of college. I did it completely on my own. My parents did not help me at all, and I was so mad in the beginning. Like literally, I always say freshman year I felt so bad for myself, and then sophomore year I was like, all right, you gotta figure this out. Like nothing's happening to make it different. Like you can either be sad for yourself or you can go do something about it. So I went and did something about it, and I worked my butt off for 3 years. I was super strategic with my schooling. I made sure, like I did everything in mind so I could pay off my debt. And then my goal was to pay it off. I set this like crazy goal that I was gonna pay off college before I graduated. I just missed it by a month, but still, I'm like, obviously, I'm so proud of myself. That's so good. So that's a little bit about my money journey. Like I taught myself every single thing I knew about money. My parents taught me a lot about life, but they did not teach me about money. So there were books that I read, podcasts that I read that really helped me. Blogging articles, just like of people who paid off their college debt. There was so much that I learned, and I obviously still have so much to learn, but now that I've gone back through the experience, like I am really grateful for it, because I think that I would not have known as much about it if that situation didn't happen. So I'm gonna go through kind of, now that you know like my money journey, and that's what sometimes people are like, oh, it's daddy's money. Like I get offended because I worked for every single thing that I have, and every single dollar of that debt that I paid off, I earned. So I'm gonna go through like year by year and kind of tell you what I did and how I was able to pay off all of that money. Okay, so we'll start at the week before the week before I went into college. My parents told me I had to pay money, and I was like, how the hell am I going to pay for this money? I worked all throughout high school, but like I spent all the money. I didn't know, like I would go buy clothes, and I would just spend it on random things. I did not have a big savings account at all. I probably had like $800 to my name, literally. So I needed like $6,000 to pay for that semester, and so I didn't know what to do, so I just randomly applied for a loan on Sallie Mae. First mistake: if you're going to apply for a loan, do your research. I was lazy / had no idea what I was doing, and so I just applied for the first loan that I could find. But if I would have researched, I'm sure I could have found a loan with a smaller or a lower interest rate. My interest rate was like 9%, which is literally unreal. That's insane. So if you are in this position, do your research, spend the time. Literally, you will save yourself thousands of dollars if you spend the time to research this. Okay, that's my first word of advice. So I got all my loans through Sallie Mae. Then we go through freshman year, and I went to a public school for my freshman year of college. One, I hated it, so I transferred. But what I realized in the transferring process is my parents made too much money that I was not able to get any financial help through my public school. So obviously they want to give financial help to the people that need it. And when you see how much my parents were making, they should have probably been able to help me pay for college. So that's why I didn't get any money, but that really sucked in my situation because I was paying for the entire thing on my own. And since it was public, I just wasn't able to get anything. So when I was transferring, I started applying to private schools, and I was able to get so much more money scholarship-wise for a private school. And obviously that's circumstantial, like that's going to be dependent on your situation. But that was something that I just had no idea about because everyone just preaches so hard on how public school is cheaper than private. And I think in a lot of situations it was, but in my situation it wasn't. And that saved me like a lot of money. Like I saved thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars by going to a private school. Okay, so then I'm in the private school. Well, like we're kind of going fast. Like this was like a whole year. So I transferred from a public school to private school my sophomore year. So then I had 3 more years. And I got a job. I did not get a job the first semester of college, which was probably good. I was just not in a, I don't know, it just was not a good time. Not a good time for me. Okay, then freshman or semester, second semester of freshman year, I got a nannying job that I worked like 15 hours a week, and then I did an internship. So the internship was in Chicago. I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I would drive to Chicago 3 days a week, and then the other 2 days a week I would nanny. And I was able to make a lot of money. It was not taxed, so I was able to take home that payment in cash. And also, like, I looked into getting a bartending job, which would have saved me money too, or would have made more money than if I was to like go get a starting salary job somewhere or a minimum wage job somewhere. So my tip for you is to research jobs that can make you more money than other jobs at this age. So babysitting for me was the way to go. Then I did my internship, which added to my resume. I nannied. And then the summer came around, and it was actually an amazing experience for me to nanny because I was nannying babies, and I would take them on walks all the time. And I found the world of podcasting, and I became hooked on Dave Ramsey. I knew that I knew nothing about money. I was starting from ground zero. Like, I literally didn't know anything about money. I listened to probably every single one of Dave Ramsey's podcasts. I read all of his books. I literally got the books from the library so I wouldn't have to spend money on them. And I would reread pages. I would just I took it all in. Like, I wanted to learn as much about money as possible. And Dave Ramsey preaches on no debt. So I don't know exactly what my viewpoint on debt was freshman year. I knew that I was basically screwed because I would be graduating with so much debt since I was paying for it on my own. But I didn't go into it with the mind of I'm paying off all this debt before I graduate. So then when I started when I started getting really into Dave Ramsey, he preaches being debt free. So then I wanted to be debt free. So then I started doing that, and he said a quote that he said 2 quotes that I repeated myself through the entire process, and it was live like no one else so you can live like no one else. And I think that it was really, really hard for me in college because I saw a lot of my friends just partying, never having to have a job, just really living in the college life that you probably should be living. And I was trying to catch up on credits because I took that semester off. So I was doing 21 credit semesters. I was working, I was nannying for 15 hours a week. And then after that, I would go home, do my exams and home, or like my dorm room, do my exams and homework, and I would find more jobs that I could do online to get paid. So there were 2 jobs that I could do in my dorm room to get paid. One was user testing, and you would go and like review websites and give them, basically it's just to like people who have websites, and they can see what work, like have a random person go on and just navigate through and see if it's like easy to navigate. And so that would pay me, like I earned like a couple $100 on that. Like that was awesome. So I could do that from my dorm room. And then I would also do it was user testing and I'm for a secret shopper. Is that the name of it? But I would be a secret shopper. So like I would literally go, like I was part of this program, and Best Buy would pay me to go into a store and pretend that I was buying a GPS, which I was such a bad actor. And so then I would like go back and I would buy like a chocolate bar or whatever there, so I didn't seem that sketchy, even though like who buys a chocolate bar at Best Buy? And then I would go back and I'd write like a whole review on the experience, like who helped me, how they were helping me. And I was like nice about it, you know, because these people are just trying to do their job like any other person. But they would pay me for that. And then I never got to do restaurants, but they have restaurants where you could get free food and like do the whole review process. So I'll remember the name of it and put it in the description. But those were the 2 jobs that I did sophomore, well, 3 jobs. So I was a student, I was nannying 15 hours a week, and I was doing those online jobs. And I just hustled. Like I literally would wake up at like 5:30 in the morning as a college student, and I would be hustling until like 10:30 at night. And I was on a strict schedule, and I would just kept reminding myself the Dave Ramsey thing, live like no one else so you can live like no one else. And then in that time, I also when I was researching how to make money like from home or whatever, because I was like, if you can make money from home, you can make money from your dorm room. I saw that people were making money from their blogs, and I started a blog in high school that I would just like randomly post like pictures of my friends and stuff on, like it wasn't serious at all. But I already had that blog there, so I was like, wait a minute, people are making that much, like a ton of money from their blog. Like if they're doing that from home, I can do it from their dorm room. And I ran with that. Like I went hardcore with that. So by like November of my sophomore year, I don't know what I was on. Like I was on something else, because I was in like 21 credits of classes. And okay, also like I probably should have cared about my like grades more. I graduated with a really good GPA, so I don't know. I think that I was at a small Christian school, which I'm not saying is easier than other schools, but I think it was easier than other schools. And also I was like an interior architecture major, so it wasn't necessarily like a lot of tests, it was a lot of projects. And I was really organized, so I was able to organize my schedule throughout the semester in a way that I knew that I could handle all of this, and I wasn't like having to cram for anything. So by November of my sophomore year, this is probably when I was like the most, actually I was intense about it all the time, but this was when things were like really happening. I was a student, I was nannying, I was doing user testing and secret shopper, and I was doing my blog, and I was treating my blog like a business. I did that all through sophomore year. I kept reading books, I kept researching, I kept listening to podcasts. And then summer came around, and I nannied for 2 families that summer to try to really double it up. Also, anytime that I could work Friday for a family that needed nannying help, I always said yes. I never turned it down. I always said yes to babysitting, like any extra money I could. And then, okay, so we're at junior year summer. So I nannied for those 2 families, did everything else, kept treating my blog like a business. I don't think I took classes in the summer. I don't think I took any classes that summer. And then by junior year, I was able to quit my nannying jobs, and because my blog was making me the same amount of money as my nannying jobs, and I was like, okay, well, if I could devote the time that I was doing on my blog before plus the time nannying, like I can just really skyrocket this. So I kept going, and I would take every semester, I would take like, I think the least amount of credits I took was 18 credits. and I just hustled. Any money that I got, I would put, so, okay, I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm just trying to explain. I'm like going through the list in my head. So any money that I earned, I would send straight to debt. Like, I was shopping at Shein, like, occasionally, and I was getting the cheapest things. I would ask for really practical things for my birthday and for Christmas, like things that I actually needed, because any type of money that I received, I wanted to put straight to debt. So what I did, I just followed Dave Ramsey's teaching exactly, like basically just go read his books. Some people don't agree in what he says. I full-heartedly do because it worked for me, and I followed what he said to a T. So he says put $1,000 in an emergency fund. So that was the first thing that I saved up for. So once I put that $1,000 in an emergency fund, I calculated my monthly costs. And I think sophomore year, my monthly cost was like $250. And then junior year, I got a college apartment, so then it went up. So I would say it was like my college apartment rent was only like $300, which is insane, I know. But that was my strategy. Like, I didn't go to a big school in a city where rent was $900 a month. Like, I would not have been able to pay off all my debt if that was the situation. So then I calculated like what I budgeted and and I was like, what is the minimum that I have to make to pay for my life? Like, you know, the bare necessities, food, my rent, my car. And then any extra money, I would literally send straight to debt. And I did the snowball effect. So I would do the smallest amount of debt first, and then I get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I had to take out, I did not have enough money to pay for this semester. So I took out a loan for freshman year, first semester, obviously, and then sophomore year. By the time junior year came around, I was able to do a payment plan with my school where I could pay cash. So it was like $900 a month cash that would pay off my semester. So then I didn't have to take out any more loans. So my goal was to basically not have to take out loans by like as soon as possible. So really at the end of it, like I cash flowed my junior and senior year, and then I just had to pay off the loans for my freshman and sophomore year. So that kind of simplifies it all. It was like not easy at all. Also, like I had to learn how to say no. I said no all the time, like literally all the time. I was very specific in every single thing that I did. When I went to the bar, I would try to order the cheapest drink that I had. I used cash envelopes, and in each envelope, I would be like grocery store, restaurant, I don't know, whatever it was. And then once that money was gone out of that envelope for that category, like I was done spending it. Like over, you're done for the month. I'm trying to think of like what else I did. I basically just like, and this is not healthy, but I knew that it was just temporary. I basically just worked like 24/7 so that I could get it paid off, which you have to do. I feel like you can't be lazy if you want to pay off your debt. So that was it. I really don't think, read books, research, listen to podcasts. There are so many free resources out there for you now on how to pay off debt and just be smart, that you can learn like so much from. Right now, if you are at a point, so now I'm at a point where I'm starting to invest my money. I don't have the book, but this is like, I would read Dave Ramsey's books. I've read all of Dave Ramsey's books, so now I'm reading Tony Robbins' Unshakable book, which is all about investing, and it's amazing. So those are just some things that I would recommend doing. That was my debt-free journey. That was how I paid off my debt. I think I also didn't care what people thought about me. Like I literally did. I think that was a huge one. Well, I think I did care about what people thought about me, but I also didn't at the same time. Like when I was starting my blog, I knew people thought it was weird and that people would judge me. And I was like, it's just weird until it's not weird anymore. And then when I started paying off all of this debt and having money to spend, they were like, okay, it's not weird anymore. But basically, I was able to do all of this. My parents did not help me in any way. I paid for every single thing that I did. And yes, I had privilege in a lot of ways. I'm white. I had a computer. I did buy the computer with my own money, but I had a computer and I bought a car too, so I had a car. So, I mean, I'm not naive enough to say that I didn't have privilege and that I didn't have it easier than other people, because I absolutely 100% did, but I also did it all on my own. And I'm saying this for you to know that you can also do it on your own. I think that people in this world are stupid with money and don't know, like, they just don't know how it works. So research, and you can do it. You can pay off your debt just like I did. It is such a relief. And I would literally fall asleep. I was so obsessed with paying off this debt that, like, I would fall asleep at night dreaming about the day that I paid off all the debt. And then when I did pay off all the debt, I like went in to send my last check to the federal student loan. Great Lakes Union was my place where my loans were through, and I was like basically crying, handing it over to the post person, and they're like, what is going on? But it is really exciting. And if you have any questions about like paying off debt, or any more questions on how I did it, leave them in the leave them in the comments, and I'll go through and like I'll answer some of them, or maybe I'll do like a part 2 answering your questions. So that was how I paid off all of my student loans at age 22. So I don't always talk about money here, but if you're interested in apartment decor, cleaning, organization, make sure to follow me on Instagram at @BySophiaLee and follow this channel.